Good evening, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to a very mildly temperatured Winterfold High School for this evening's performance, which I promise will be a wonderful evening. Just a little bit of housekeeping before we begin. So obviously, with regards to our social media, please do not post anything, as we've said many times in the last few days, without the permission of the parents of every child in the image. Also, in regards to, we don't have any planned fire bells, but if there is a sustained bell, what we'll do is we will look after the children and we will take them down to the muster point. Have a fabulous evening, and I'll see you on the other side. Thank you.
Welcome, welcome. Before we start, I would like to raise a toast to our teachers who made this possible today. Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and fellow musical explorers. We are your hosts, Jeevan Fogg and Phileas Rooney. Welcome aboard the Winterfold Magic Balloon, where tonight we embark on a whirlwind journey around the world in 80 minutes. Give or take, you know how time flies when you're having fun. Inspired by the great adventurer Phileas Fogg, we invite you to fasten your seatbelts as we lift off on a musical voyage across continents, cultures, and also time travel through centuries. Unlike Mr. Fogg, we don't need passports, pocket watches, or even overpriced Phileas Fogg snacks. Our mode of transport is far more powerful. Music! From our jazz clubs of New Orleans to the snowy peaks of Norway, our talented performers will be your guides around the world. So whether you're here to support a performer, enjoy the music, or just escape the bizarre British weather, welcome aboard! We kicked off with a 1931 jazz classic written by Duke Ellington, undisputed king of Harlem. Did you know that Duke Ellington was not that interested in music or the piano until he was aged 14 and started to sneak into pool rooms and heard the jazz pianist there, proving it's really never too late. Too late? What? To start playing pool? That's some of the best advice I've ever heard. No, Eddie. I mean learn an instrument. Next up, the percussion ensemble brings us a Brazilian bossa nova, smoother than a mango sorbet. It's a musical equivalent of a beach holiday. Sunshine, rhythm, and a gentle breeze. the saxophones take the stage. Mr. Hobbs may not quite be tangling on his crutches just yet, but he's definitely got the groove going. Let's see those saxes strut, strictly style. And back in the balloon, we fly over to Hungary, home of goulash, rhapsodies, the biro, and the Rubik's Cube. I love a Rubik's Cube. Also, the Shardas is a death dance which depicts a soldier fighting his opponent, watching for weak points, then, as a victor, killing him and, unbelievably, dancing for joy. Or perhaps we should consider a more politically correct retelling. The Shardas accurately depicts my frustration with the Rubik's Cube and the rapturous moment when the stickers are all reapplied. Thank you, flautists. Now for some more drama. This famous tango has appeared in more films than some actors. This classic by Gardel is actually winning a horse race by a head. Maybe the string ensemble should consider playing this year at the Chadsley Point to Point. Next, we head stateside with a gospel classic written by a mother-daughter combo. Now that would be an interesting reports target for Mr. Price to set. Who wrote that joke? Was that supposed to be funny? Mr. Price! Anyway, enjoy the senior choir with one of the biggest hits in gospel history. Back to Blighty, we return to the leafy hills of Surrey, the grand setting of a 17th century poem. Vaughan Williams, lover of English folk and hymns, created this majestic piece. The chamber choir will attempt to conjure visions of an Arbuthnot Cathedral rather than a sports hall. Hallelujah. We're now off to Colombia. Disney's musical Encanto gave us its global airwork. With overlapping melodies and Latin rhythms, it's a musical puzzle where every piece fits perfectly.
Unlike my Rubik's Cube.
And it was written by the genius who wrote the musical Hamilton, Lin-Manuel Miranda. It's also a chance for the choir to flaunt their streetwise stance, honed on the mean streets of Bogota. Meant to say chances.
Time now for the offbeats with a piece called Cold Duck Time. Please don't worry, no ducks were chilled in the making of this performance. It also grooves harder than a funky chicken and features solos from our talented band members. Fingers crossed no one goes cold turkey on us.
So just before we start, we've got some solos in this piece, so could I ask you to withhold your applause to the very end, because I don't want, they've worked very hard on the solos, and I want you to hear everything that they play. So, here we go. Ready? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
The Groove Diggers have had an epic year, rocking the River Rooms in Stourbridge and lighting up a jazz club on tour. We start with an American piece, Louie Louie, followed by one of the most covered songs of all time, Valerie. But let's be honest, no one does it quite like the Groove Diggers. It's time to stretch your legs,
Grab a well-earned travel alcoholic beverage.
and we will be back faster than you can say, Encore! Welcome back, fellow travellers. I hope you have all returned to your seats after enjoying our complimentary onboard refreshments. We now travel to Norway, officially the happiest country in the world, with Grieg's masterpiece, In the Hall of the Mountain King. It starts quietly and builds into a musical stampede, perfect for imagining trolls, caves, and dramatic chases.
Basically, a regular Winterfold Tuesday break time for me then.
Absolutely. Then it's off to Spain for the fiery Carmen, one of opera's greatest hits, bold, brilliant, and not to be messed with. And with our last piece, we go all Scandi again.
To IKEA?
Not quite, but there's really nothing flat-packed about this tune. With its disco groove, it's pure ABBA magic.
Hey Jeevan, we're off to Kansas next with Toto again. Somewhere over the rainbow. What? Oh, no, sing it. Okay. I got too excited. Sorry. Sing now. Do you want me to sing now?
Hey, Jeevan, we're off to Kansas next with Toto again. Somewhere over the rainbow.
I love Toto, especially the bit where he sings, I bless the rains down in Africa. It gets me every time.
Wait, what? You know, Toto, the dog from Wizard of Oz? Is that a song he sings when they're walking through a forest or something?
Eddie, that dog doesn't sing, he just barks. This song is by Toto, the band.
Oh! Hold up. So, the dog is in a band?
No!
Then why would a band name themselves after a dog from a movie?
To be honest, I don't think they did. It's just a weird coincidence, like how Mars is a planet and the chocolate bar.
So, you're telling me there's a dog named Toto, a band named Toto, and neither of them have ever been to Africa? I am totally confused. But I do know it's the final number. Hold on to your hats and enjoy!
That was great. That certainly was as warm as a tropical night in Africa. Absolutely wonderful, guys. Some thank yous. Lots of thank yous. First of all, thank you for Dr. Kane for some of the arrangements tonight. World premieres. Thank you, Dr. Kane. Thank you to the compères who are genuinely hilarious with their timing. Thank you to this amazing team, musicians on the stage who teach your children. They are absolutely fabulous musicians, and you can hear how the sort of level of inspiration they give to your children and the lessons, the sort of direction they can give. So to all the instrumental staff, please put your hands together. It's been an interesting year for lots of things, and we've had lots of crises. It seems there's a new one every 25 minutes at the moment. One of the crises has been in the hospitality industry with music and playing for gigs and the venues, and it's struggling a lot. The music industry is really struggling, and that's sad. However, at Winterfold, you would never guess it. It's absolutely ballistic, this place of music. In actual fact, I go around to year fives, any lesson, it's like, stop singing, stop singing. It's like that scene from Alan Partridge, you remember, when he tells us to stop singing. Absolutely alive in music, the new theatre, it's just wonderful. And the enthusiasm for everything is absolutely infectious, and it's just got better and better as the years gone by. I also thought I would say thank you to year 8, because they're just wonderful, and they've just been at the school for many years, and they've been wonderful. I also, big thanks to the year 8, especially musicians. So I thought this is actually the last year where we can use the old COVID excuse, because these guys went through COVID at the key formation times. So if you're in year 8 and you're still playing an instrument, that's an amazing achievement, because it was probably, I wouldn't say it's nothing to do with us, but a lot was down to you and your parents over Zoom doing ridiculous recorder lessons where I couldn't hear a note you were playing. We did our best, and you got through it, and you're still playing, and I think that's absolutely wonderful. So I'd like to just say a final thanks, I always do. If they want to just stand up, anyone's in the orchestra or anything, to the year 8 and the wonderful musicians in year 8 who are leaving us.
Thank you, Mr. Price, and I echo all those thank yous. It has been a truly wonderful night, and what an absolutely joyous night it's been. The children have done amazingly well, and well done to all of them. And I do want to thank, again, all the instrumental teachers here, and Mrs. Richardson as well, who's worked so hard with the children. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes in preparation for tonight, and everybody has done so well. But I particularly want to say a big thank you to our Director of Music, who has really put together a wonderful medley of music for us tonight. So can we put our hands together for Mr. Price? Every year we look at our children, we look at our year 8s, and we think, oh my goodness, they're going to be leaving us. What is next year's concert going to be like? And you can just see from tonight's performance, the standard at which the children have performed has been truly, truly outstanding. And the joy they have brought us tonight in listening to their performance. So can we put our hands together for all our wonderful children? Something which which is very special to Winterfold is actually when you see the children perform, is just the enjoyment on their face, and just brings a smile to all our faces as we watch them perform. So I think we would like to just see that last number one more time. So over to you, children.
Can I also say a very thank you to the mums who helped decorate today's. I promise next time I'll give you more than 24 hours notice. No, only joking. The wonderful artwork and the round the world scene which they've worked tirelessly all day. Thank you very much to them. Okay, so we'll play Africa again. Sing along, we all know this song, and clap along and enjoy yourselves.